Irish guy, and you are released. Unless you're Dobby the house elf, those are the 3 most painful words you can hear. Well, if you're a footballer. And so yeah, these players, they just quietly slip out the back door. The club doesn't really want to make a fuss, to a point where you're looking at your matchday program in mid-August and only realizing then that, oh yeah, the bloke you're looking for was actually dumped to like a half-eaten chicken burger 2 months ago. So I'm gonna look through every Premier League club and find the best player that your club has just released. Right, let's go. Arsenal, AZ Maitland-Niles. Okay, yes. Right now, Reece Nelson is 1 week away from being officially unemployed, while his mum is probably preparing for him to return home to spend the summer on the couch, watching Jeremy Kyle and playing Xbox until noon. But apparently he's actually going to sign a new deal worth £100,000 a week. And I'm sorry, but if Arsenal actually sanctioned that deal for their very own version of Hudson-Odoi, then it's just nonsense beyond belief. Yes, he scored in the last minute versus Bournemouth, but other than that, what's he done? He was born somewhere called Elephant and Castle. What, did his mum just give birth to him with her spoons? Was he delivered beside some fat bloke tucking into his waffles and eggs? But AZ Maitland-Niles is definitely a goner, which is kind of sad in a way. He's nearly halfway to 50. Been at Arsenal since 2003. He's been at the club since the last Lord of the Rings film was in the cinema. He's since seen his own mum banned from the training ground. He's made over 130 appearances, been chucked on a loan 4 times, and so now, for such a versatile player, to now leave for less than the price of a cherry chocolate orange, it's all a bit anticlimactic and sad. Aston Villa Ashley Young. This is a disgrace. Okay, not so much of a disgrace that I'm expecting people to protest outside Parliament. I don't think there's gonna be a revolution in downtown Birmingham with angry punters gathering in a pub to plot just how they're gonna throw eggs at Unai Emery's car, but this is still sort of harsh. The guy has made over 700 appearances in his life. 2 years ago, he was winning Serie A. Do you not think you could have done with his experience in Europe next season? On one hand though, I am sort of excited to see what Young does next. I would love to see him become a squad player at Roma. I mean, it wouldn't be the first English Ashley they signed. I mean, hopefully this bloke knows how to make friends. As well, Cole looked like such a loner here. You'd swear Toddy had just insulted his mum. If Young is not appreciated in England anymore, then just go join Brendan Rodgers at Celtic. Honestly, don't suddenly just let yourself go and become a fat Danny Simpson eating toast at the gym. I think Villa choosing to dump AY is harsh. Bournemouth Junior Stanislas. This seems a little mean too. I realize Junior Stanislas is 33 years old and now in injury-ravaged Turkey. I mean, his feet probably stink of leprosy, but he's also been at Bournemouth for 9 years. The guy was just 1 year off a testimonial. The guy has scored nearly 40 goals for this club. Just 2 years ago, he was banging in 11 in a single championship season. I realized that for the last 2 years, he's had hamstrings made of mashed potato. Well, I mean, I assume he's been injured. Either that, or both Scott Parker and Gary O'Neill found him weeing in the club's canteen fridge, and they're just too embarrassed to say. But whatever the reason, he's now just been cruelly dumped. Bit harsh. Brentford Pontus Janssen. Yeah, Brentford kicked out Pontus Janssen as if he was just an empty carton of milk. But to be fair, I think the Swedish centre half also wanted to quit. He's been able to pen a deal at Malmo, the club he spent 9 years at before leaving for Torino in 2014. So yeah, I mean, there was a while there where I was terrified about getting this bloke's ugly mugshot tattooed on my foot. But now, fair enough, Pontus, this experienced centre back is sailing off into the sunset to go and eat a bunch of boiled mice in the Swedish hills. Brighton Teddy Jenks. Okay, while Brighton might have taken advantage of some people losing their jobs this summer, they haven't really released that many big name players at all. I suppose Teddy Jenks is a 21-year-old midfielder who's been on the books for years. He was always sitting on the bench. He went on loan to Aberdeen and Crawley Town, played and scored for England under-17s back in 2019, but hasn't really kicked on at all. Burnley Ashley Barnes. Yes, Ashley Barnes might look happy in that Norwich shirt, as if his mum has just baked him a box of blueberry muffins for lunch, but make no mistake about it, he didn't really want to move to Carrow Road and spend a 9th season of his life rotting in the Championship. I mean, this is what he said about his Burnley future in May.
I want to stay for as long as possible. I literally love it here.
Yeah, well, clearly Burnley have decided to get rid. It seems a million years ago that this fella was scoring 12 goals in a single Premier League season and getting linked with a move to Chelsea. Yeah, in January 2018, they also wanted Peter Crouch and Andy Carroll and Islam Slimani. It was clearly a month where the transfer committee had sneezed their brains onto the floor. Can you imagine him training with Eden Hazard? He'd look like he had the first touch of a beach ball. But yeah, anyway, after 9 years at Turf Moor, Burnley have got rid. I mean, bit sad. Chelsea Timo Bakayoko. Finally. It's over! Timu Bakayoko, France's one-cap wonder, has finally been released from the shackles of his Chelsea prison. Remember when this guy first burst onto the scene from Monaco and was marketed as the next Yaya Toure? Chelsea paid £40 million for this guy. One of the biggest waste of money in the history of the sport. Surely Chelsea's worst ever buy. He had one flop season then, but instead of just selling him in 2018, he was loaned out 4 times. I mean, last season he played just 3 games for AC Milan. Other than that, 32 games where he sat on the bench and wasn't even asked to warm up. He was left out of the Champions League squad. So why they chose to bring him on loan in the first place, I have no idea. The guy's been on wages of £120,000 a week for the last 5 years. No wonder Mason Mount has been kicking up a fuss when he's been earning 40 grand less than this unwanted journeyman. Lads, Bakayoko has been a Chelsea employee for 6 years. And yet I would imagine that he and Mason Mount have probably only spoken about 3 times. But yeah, he's finally done. He's actually completed the length of his Chelsea contract. And now, after Turkey, I suppose, Crystal Palace, Luka Milivojevic. The era of Luka Milivojevic is over. Which I'm not that sad about, because I was never really able to pronounce his name. But lads, for a while there, this Serbian midfielder was an expert penalty taker for Crystal Palace. Don't forget, in his first 2 full seasons at Sellers Park, the man netted 22 goals. I was having to try and pronounce his name virtually every week. And honestly, it's been like trying to speak whilst your mouth is stuffed with 7 forks. Thankfully, the guy's actually only scored once since lockdown. And now he's been thrown away at the age of 32 like an empty packet of Monster Munch. But honestly, again, would be a good signing for Celtic. Everton Yeremina. I think it's kind of sad that Andros Townsend's career at Everton is over, having slid down the back of a toilet wall. It was less than 2 years ago that he was the most underwhelming transfer of the summer. A freebie at Goodison Park. But lads, he was actual quality for 2 months, scoring 5 goals by October, including a wonder goal against Burnley. He was doing the Ronaldo Sue celebration at Old Trafford. He was thanking his mum for picking up his confidence by creating a highlights package of all his goals. I was here for the Townsend redemption arc. But now, then injuries robbed him of a year, and Sean Dyche has cruelly said no thanks at just 31. He's got 13 England caps, and yet instead, I can see a move back to QPR. But this video is about the best player that your club has released, and yeah, I mean, Yeremina wanted a release clause of €100 million at Barcelona. He is a colossal centre-back beefcake, and yet now, after half a decade in Liverpool, unemployed. Fulham Shane Duffy. It's sad to see Shane Duffy just used as a transfer pawn for Fulham to manipulate the market. This guy is so quickly gone from absolute key centre half for Bright to failed loan spells at Celtic and Fulham. Marco Silva had no intention of ever using Duffy this season, and yet in February they made his loan deal permanent just so they could free up room to sign Cedric Suarez on loan. They led Duffy on, pretending that he had a future at Craven Cottage. I mean, he was probably scouring houses in West London with his wife. Less than 6 months later, he's just been binned off to Norwich on a free. This is a man with 55 Republic of Ireland caps. Show him some respect. Yeah, you can just ignore the caps for Northern Ireland under 16s, Northern Ireland under 17s, Northern Ireland under 19s, Northern Ireland under 21s, and Northern Ireland B. Christ above, he's worse than Jack Grealish. Liverpool, Roberto Firmino. Where do you want to start with Liverpool? They have released a former £50 million man, and a guy who will retire with the most ever Premier League appearances, and a Samba superstar with over 50 Brazil caps, and some bloke engaged to your one-off little mix. But yeah, the best is Roberto Firmino. He's 31 years of age, and what a Liverpool buy. I have thought he would flop when he joined in 2015. I mean, he was off the back of a 7-goal season for Hoffenheim. That's about as exciting as eating cauliflower with a spoon. But lads, 362 Liverpool appearances, 111 goals. He's won the Premier League, FA Cup, the League Cup, Community Shield, Champions League, UEFA Super Cup, and FIFA Club World Cup. What is weird though, is that it's always been a one and done. He's only actually won all of those competitions just the once. If only Liverpool had not messed up that Europa League final in 2016, then he really would have won everything. Lad, when Firmino's been good, he's been electric. People forget, but back in 2018, he was only 3 goals shy of a 30-goal season. That is nutty. That is almost Luis Suarez levels. But yeah, he's gone now, and probably just going to join Atletico Madrid on a free. Luton Town, Henry Lansbury. Luton Town have dumped their captain, Sonny Bradley. Ruthless. I think it's devastating when clubs are promoted and then they start telling all the players who won't be joining them in the Premier League. It must be absolutely heartbreaking. Bradley is a centre half who's played in the conference with Harrogate Town. He's played in League 2, League 1, the Championship. The Premier League is the last league to take off, and yet no, just like that, at 31, their dream is dead. But again, he's not even the best player they've released. That would be Henry Lansbury, a 32-year-old ex-Arsenal midfielder who Newcastle fans still absolutely hate for a dive with Nottingham Forest 6 years ago. Yeah, Newcastle fans are like elephants, and not just because they eat Greggs for breakfast. They never forget. And yeah, Lansbury, a player who's always had the talent. Arsene Wenger once predicted he would be a big player. Yeah, I mean, he's literally been on the bench for Champions League nights, and yeah, he's been turned away by Luton. Man City, Benjamin Mendy. Yikes. Man United, Phil Jones. Okay, David De Gea could be released this summer. His contract is up in a week, but so far, I actually think he's going to stay. Axel Tuanzebe is surely the correct answer here, right? But is he? I know he recently played for Napoli, just the twice, but what has he actually done in his career? 1 solid season in the Championship for Aston Villa 4 years ago, that's it. I mean, he just flopped on loan to Stoke. He's halfway to 50, not 17. Phil Jones, on the other hand, was one step by Sir Alex Ferguson to be the club's greatest ever player. He played over 200 times for this club, but the decision to offer him that new deal in February 2019, that made zero sense. He's played 13 games since, and he even had the nerve to tell Rafa Varane that no, he couldn't have his number 4 shirt. We talk about Twanzebe fitting at Stoke. Jones should have moved to Stoke in 2016 when he had the chance, instead of just being this grim gargoyle at Old Trafford. I know he's only 31, but I reckon he's gonna retire. Newcastle Matty Longstaff. This is sad. Matty Longstaff is done. He'll always have those 2 moments though. Sean Longstaff's brother only ever played 14 times in the Premier League, but weirdly scored twice against Man United, including the winner at home when Steve Bruce was at the wheel. His level of overnight hype went through the roof. He was like he just won Britain's Got Talent. Yes, he looked like Ron Weasley's cousin, but he was suddenly linked with a mega wage at Udinese. They were apparently going to make him their highest paid player on £30,000 a week. This was around the same time that Manchester United were drooling over his brother. Mammy and Daddy Longstaff, they were the original Bellingham parents. Those parents were probably so proud. They were probably constantly crying happy tears in their toast. And yet now, Longstaff has since joined Aberdeen, Mansfield and Colchester on loan, playing in stadiums where the toilets don't flush. He has had a serious knee injury and now he turns 24 in March and suddenly does not have a club. After those pretty anonymous loan spells, I honestly would not be surprised to see him spend the rest of his career at Gateshead. Nottingham Forest, Jesse Lingard. This was probably a mutual decision. Don't forget, Jesse Lingard only committed himself to Nottingham Forest for a year anyway. But lads, he probably thought it would go this way. He would explode with his West Ham form, look comfortably Forest's best player by a country mile, and I mean, it didn't really matter if he got relegated or not, because he was now in a position where he just ripped up the Premier League and was surely now going to move to Tottenham for wages of £150,000 a week. I mean, right? That was probably the plan. Yeah, the complete opposite has happened. His mastermind plan has backfired, and now instead, what, 30k a week at Besiktas? Or ring up his old mate Wayne Rooney for a job? Sheffield United Billy Sharp. I for one am annoyed that Enda Stevens has been kicked out of Sheffield United. Remember 2 or 3 years ago when this Irish left back was one of the standout superstars in the Premier League at Bramall Lane? He had scouts at Aston Villa, probably banging the head off the wall for ever letting him go. Yeah, he's now unemployed. As is centre back Jack O'Connell, but their biggest loss, losing their captain Billy Sharp, a man who spent 3 separate spells at Sheffield United. He's been there since 2015. I know he turns 38 in February, but for the leadership value alone, is it not worth keeping him around? You can tell even Paul Heckingbottom was upset he was allowed to leave. Trust me, if Sheffield United are floundering bottom of the league in November, after a 6-0 loss at home to Wolves, people are going to point to the fact that yes, you let a leader leave? Tottenham Lucas Moura. Lads, look how weird Lucas Moura's career numbers are. The guy played 153 league games for PSG, then he plays 152 games for Tottenham. Although nothing will ever beat Aubameyang Martins for complete symmetry perfection. 28 goals in 88 league games for Inter Milan, then 28 goals in 88 league games for Newcastle. That is the perfect example where you're literally paying for what it says on the tin. Honestly, that stat will always spook me until I'm a bag of bones in the ground. But yeah, Lucas Moura, a complete baller. A hat-trick in the Champions League final. Should arguably have a statue outside the ground, and yet he's getting thrown out with a bag of chips. West Ham Manuel Lanzini. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Manuel Lanzini was always an obscure buy, an Argentinian midfielder playing for Al Jazeera in his early 20s. He was rescued by West Ham and no, he was no Dimitri Payet, but he was a cult hero all the same. Over 200 games for the Hammers, over 30 goals. He made his Argentina debut while at West Ham. His last minute equalising rocket at Tottenham's ground over lockdown in that insane 3-3 is surely one of the greatest ever moments in West Ham history. It was a bit like he'd been possessed by the ghost of Steven Gerrard when he'd done that exact same thing against West Ham, and yet now he's gone. Wolves, João Moutinho. Imagine ever thinking that Wolves would ever be in a position where they would release someone like João Moutinho, a spectacular midfielder in his peak, and the fact that he moved to Wolves in his 30s, and yet has played more league games for them than any other club in his entire career. That's pretty mental. I remember this guy being just an annoying summer saga back in 2008, when he kept telling Everton and David Moyes no. To think it took him another 10 years to finally join the Premier League, and yet now at 36, just tossed away into the wilderness. If anything, he should be joining the Saudi League, not Ruben Neves, who's 10 years younger. It's just sad. Anyway, that's it. Let me know what do you think. Let me know in the comments if you know what do you think is the best player you've released. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, subscribe. As always, I'll talk to you in a while.